Goddamn, it is episode 42. And we made it to this episode just in goddamn time. I'm not late. I'm not behind. We are exactly where we need to be. Welcome to the Young Talk podcast. This is Father B. We're here, we're alive, we're doing great. We're doing great on all levels here. If you can do me a favor just to make it even a little bit better, if you could hit the button, you know what button I'm talking about. It's that special little button. It's a special little button. It's just right there on the side of the screen. It says subscribe. It says like. It's a shape. They get real creative these days, these YouTube companies. But if you could just click that for me, right? It really helps, and I appreciate it. Last episode, we talked a lot about scams. We talked a lot about psyops. I labeled it psyops, and it's out now. So episode 41 is out. Congrats, enjoy. And we spent a lot of time talking about Black Friday. We spent a lot of time talking about Netflix and Warner Bros. Now we do have some updates there. So what do we got today? Let's start. We got some news. We can curate our own news, right? I pick what's the news of the week. This week, we're still talking about Warner Bros. We're still talking about Netflix buying Warner Bros. But there's been an update. Last week, right? Netflix acquires Warner Bros. For $83 billion, right? It's put everybody up in arms in every category. Everybody's concerned. Something that happened that was interesting was Paramount decided to step in. It was like, hey, they put in $83 billion. I'm going to put in $160 billion, right? So now there's this hostile takeover situation for Warner Bros. Because everybody understands that a streaming company owning a movie studio is a bit of a red flag on a lot of different levels, and mainly on the level of control over the market, right? We all play Monopoly, and we all play Monopoly and ruin lives and friendships, but we don't understand the grand scheme of why Monopoly is such a corrupt and greed level of capitalism, which is what we're seeing now because if Netflix acquires Warner Bros. It's such a huge percentage of the market, and it's such an impact on if they're going to diminish how those movies are presented, right? There's all these different levels to it. So Paramount steps in and they're like, oh, we're going to buy it. We want to buy it. They're offering cash instead of stocks, which is how Netflix was acquiring Warner Bros. Through stocks. But Paramount was like, we'll give you hard cash and all this shit. So now it's kind of a takeover situation where everybody's trying to make sure that they get this deal, or that this deal doesn't happen. And even the president doesn't even fully understand. But I mean, it's not like we have a smart one. So that's not really worthy of being in this conversation. But the problem is that Netflix is bad because it's like letting a 5-year-old be in charge, right? Paramount being in charge of Warner Bros. Is bad because it's like giving the Nepo baby everything else that it doesn't already have. Like Paramount is already majorly big. It already has so many things. Acquiring Warner Bros. Would mean that it has an advantage over the movie industry market that has probably never really been seen before. That could pose a bunch of problems. We've seen Paramount earlier this year and how they like to do business. So it's not like Paramount is completely clean. So there's all these levels to what the concerns are. And funny enough, I was reading a lot of books this week. I read a lot of books this week. One of the books I was reading was about writing for TV writing. Right. And one of the things that they talked about unironically was the history of the legacy studios and how they became what they are, how they became like Paramount, Warner Brothers, Universal, and so on, why they're the legacy studios. And it was basically saying like, it's in this level of ability to be able to make movies and not have a monopoly over who can make movies or to what degree or to what capacity, because all these studios own other things. Like they don't just make movies, they own sports networks, or they own news networks, they own broadcasting, they own a cable network, they own all these different areas collectively, and they understand this business that one person can't control all of this, or two of us can't, like if we're all these big things, and the reality is you don't think about it too often, but you kind of recognize it subconsciously as a viewer, like the difference between a Paramount movie and a Warner Brothers movie, right? And so the like things like that are super important. On the surface, it's well, they come out with this type of movie over this type of movie, but on the reality is like the creators that make Paramount movies have a certain type of vision, as opposed to Warner Brothers, who may have a different vision of how to produce movies or films. When these companies start absorbing each other, it starts diminishing the amount of creative ability or the type of movies that get sold. And we all have seen the stuff that comes out of Netflix. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's You know, a lot of it is not, like, none of it is on the level of what a legacy studio is. It's kind of a 1 out of 30 chance. So it's a scary thing when Netflix starts trying to acquire a legacy studio when they don't create legacy level movies. They've never really done that. One of the issues that could come up is the cost of making these shows or making these movies. Like when you think about the production value of a Game of Thrones as opposed to the production value of a Netflix show. And I said it before in last podcast, look how long it took them to make Stranger Things. They didn't take a decade to make Stranger Things because they wanted it to be good. So when Netflix acquires Warner Bros. And they have their hands on IPs like Game of Thrones, how do they ensure that they can keep up with the cost of creating a show on that magnitude? What if they can't? What if they decide to scale down the production? They decide to use those studios less expensively to keep the cost down. Now we're getting lesser quality HBO shows, which is, again, a legacy studio. HBO itself is known for this ability to really create amazing sets. I've listened to the creators of HBO cast members and crew members and producers talking about the work that they do to create the shows and the worlds and the environments. And so it is scary when you hear Netflix, right? And they're trying to acquire these things. And it's like, they're not going to be able to keep up the demand for the quality of these shows. They've never had a studio. They don't have a studio like that. They're trying to, and they may have a little one, but they don't have one. What's crazy is you don't think about it, right? But Netflix acquired it for 83 billion, right? They want to acquire it for 83 bill. Paramount steps in and doubles that. So these studios have money. You know what I'm saying? Like, they do have more money than most of the average consumer can actually understand, because even I was a little surprised. I was like, well, at first 83 billion sounds like a lot, but then you hear Paramount comes in with 160 billion. God damn. Like, okay, Netflix, sit your ass down. You are trying to sit at the big dogs table, and we didn't even know how big these fucking dogs were. 160 billion is crazy. And they're offering that in cash, which is like, it lets you know the value of these studios as well. Like, these studios have literally been around since the beginning. It's uncertain, I think, right now. I don't think the deal is done yet because of this hostile bid of $160 billion for the studio. And, you know, whatever outcome, it's going to change the industry. I don't know, like, what movies will look like afterwards, which is scary, because it's scary to think movies may either be diminished or the access to movies may be diminished. What do we do when these legacy studios start losing to streaming services, or they start becoming to the point where they have to start absorbing each other? But I got a video here. We could take a look at it.
One of life's mysteries, sir.
Why can't I hear this? Why is it so low? Hold on. Let me see. Paramount. Okay, I can hear it. All right. Sorry.
It's one of life's mysteries, sir.
The gloves are off this morning in a high-stakes media battle. Paramount Skydance, home to iconic films like Top Gun, coming in with a hostile bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, making an all-cash $108 billion offer for the entire company.
Okay, I may have oversold it. 60 billion over 100 billion over 83. Still a lot, though. That's 20 billion more. That's still quite a fuck ton more.
It comes just days after Netflix appeared to have a deal to buy Warner Brothers Studios, HBO, and HBO Max.
You want to live in Taiwan?
The bid came the same day as the Golden Globe nominations, where HBO's The White Lotus and Warner Brothers' one battle after another were the most nominated TV show and film.
I need to find my daughter.
Paramount Skydance CEO David Ellison arguing a Netflix deal could mean more films going straight to streaming.
This deal, if it is allowed to move forward, will actually be the death of the theatrical movie business in Hollywood.
That's what I said. We said it last episode, and now we're hearing it circle around, the death of theatrical releases, bro.
But Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos insists Warner Brothers movies will go to theaters as normal and expressed confidence the deal will hold.
We have a deal done, and we are incredibly happy with the deal.
But final approval could depend on Washington. President Trump saying he would be personally involved in whether the Netflix deal would be allowed to go through, adding both offers should be examined. In a filing, Paramount said their bid will be backed in part by funds from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as Affinity Partners, a firm founded by Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. For consumers, either deal could reshape the entertainment landscape.
Paramount is more committed to putting movies in theaters than Netflix is. From a streaming service perspective, both of them are going to probably try to sort of make it so you have fewer services to pay for and bundle them.
And I think that's what we pretty much are approaching. I think we are at the end of the multitude of streaming services. And I mentioned this last episode too, where it's like, it's been a while. And I do think somewhere between 2022 and 2023 was the best that streaming services were going to get, because it just got too bloated. And I always think about Disney Plus, because I did not like what it felt, what it meant for watching things. Because to me, I'm like, I always like watching Disney stuff on Disney Channel. And the idea of a Disney app sounds fun, but why not? I was like, well, why not just keep your stuff on like Netflix or Hulu or something? Why do I have to go and get a whole new app, right? When it's like, at the time, the main two sources were Hulu and Netflix, and if you're broke, Peacock. Right, those are pretty much to me the big three before you had Tubi and all these other ones. And now it's like I've seen it over the years talk about this more and more, where it's like they do get tired of having to pay for all these subscriptions, and then you come up with all these reasons of why subscriptions start costing more. And then the reality of it all is that cable subscriptions, this is all. What's fascinating is my generation, right? When cable TV and all that was a thing, we were children. So we did not pay cable bills. So we don't know really the cost of what it was to pay for cable television. But when you get a glimpse at it, you realize, oh, it's actually like $300 a month for like Comcast. And it's because you're paying for the sports package. You're paying to access the on-demand stuff. You're paying to access HBO. You're paying to access Showtime. You're paying to access all these other things beyond just watching television, live television, broadcast television. And I always thought, I was like, damn, cable, paying for TV is really expensive. And I didn't think that was a problem, because I'm like, it makes sense though. You're getting all these different things, but you're paying for all these different things, that it makes sense that it's $300, because whether it's Comcast, Dish, what's the other cable TV things that were out at the time? I don't even remember. I just remember those two. Satellite. Like these things, it makes sense that you're paying for because of the amount of things it takes. And it's not just that you're the one accessing it. Everybody in the world is accessing this stuff, right? Then you go into streaming service content, where now you don't have to wait for live television. Now you don't have to pay for sports stuff if you don't really watch sports. You don't have to pay per view to wait for your one show on HBO to come on. Now you can just kind of watch it when you want, right? And Netflix and all these other streaming platforms, that's why they were so nice. It was because of the convenience of not having to wait for the live broadcast, or not having to record because you had TiVo. And since you didn't have time, you would just end up having a long list of shows and things to catch up on. You would feel obligated to catch up on it because of the TV culture, where in which new episodes of a show come out, you're talking about it with the people around you. So you don't want to miss something, because then you'll be spoiled, right? This is before everything and everyone was just constantly online. This is why shows like Lost and all these things, why people don't understand why it was good. It was because it had people talking. It had people not just talking on blogs, but in person. They were talking about the latest episode, where it's going, and all these things. That was the culture of TV, of cable television, of live television, being there and knowing the latest episode, or recording it and coming back to it. The problem was people got so busy to where it's like you have too many things that you're trying to catch up on, and not enough time to watch them, or that shows would just go on for too long. And so you'd miss too much. And so now you have streaming, and you can just binge everything if you miss it, right? Or the entire season comes out, watch it on your leisure. Now everybody has this understanding of if you watched it or if you didn't, or what you missed, what you didn't miss. It's a less of a fear of missing out because it's always there for you to catch up on. And not just that one, but the entire thing. So there is no rush. There is no need to rush. You can kind of enjoy it at your convenience. But that completely negates the foundation of why you watch entertainment. It's about the moment. It's about being there, seeing it when it happened. Because the minute after the initial viewing, the initial premiere, it starts to lose its value each day. These are the things that we are concerned about with streaming services. And I think we're just going back to the reality that cable television made more sense. I think these companies realize that, and that's slowly what they're trying to do, is bundle all these platforms back up. So that way, if you have a Netflix subscription, you now have Netflix and Hulu and HBO. But in reality, you don't have that. You just have all these shows like you would on cable television, just access to watch whatever's available. The only difference is it's not live. We're just working backwards now because people have found a way to get around streaming. They can share passwords. They can watch everything and then not watch it at all. They can cancel their subscriptions. They can do the free trials. They can make fake accounts, right? You can get around streaming services, and that's what people did for a long time. And now you see companies implementing shit like you can't share passwords, or your account has to be in the same location as da 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 da. It's like, okay, now you guys are just making it harder for us to enjoy streaming because we're enjoying it too much. So then they start upping the prices. They start making these limitations. They start adding ads to things where these were the incentives in which why you even bought these platforms and subscriptions for the first place. It's all just being rolled back, and they're pretending like things aren't going to change when they are, and they have been. And people are not dumb, because when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to movies and TVs, people pay attention because it's their entertainment. It's the main source of entertainment. So it's all fucked, man. Is there more in this video? We kind of broke that whole thing down,
Warner
to be
Brothers
honest.
Discovery has said that they will carefully review Paramount's offer, and they're going to advise their shareholders within 10 days, guys.
Chloe Malas. Chloe,
Within 10 days.
Hey, thanks.
Within 10 days. That was 4 days ago. But, whatever route we go, it's not going to be good. I don't know why Warner Brothers is for sale. I don't know. I wish we could understand that, because it's just causing so many issues. When it's like, hey, maybe just don't go on sale, man. Just stay a legacy studio. I don't hire someone else. I don't know. It's still uncertain. So we'll just, everybody will just keep their eyes on it until something happens. I don't believe anything they say about Netflix. If they lower the prices, they're just going to slowly rise them back up. If they keep Warner Brothers WB movies releasing in theaters, I think they will try to keep it at a pace that's either close to normal, if not normal, but slowly roll it back. And it'll get to a point where it's significantly less. Maybe not this year, next year, or whatever, but definitely in the next 10 years. I think they're going to make the changes that they want to make, because T does believe streaming is better than theatrical releases. He thinks that it is the more ideal way of watching content, when it's not. If Netflix wins, I think that's the route. It's going to be a slow road to hell. If Paramount wins, it's just going to be a dynamically different ecosystem in which movies are made. And I do think, honestly, I think Paramount is going to win. I think Paramount's going to buy WB. I think if Trump and people in his side have power in influencing that, then Paramount's going to ensure they get the deal, So to me, it's more so of a world where Paramount has majority advantage within the movie industry, which is it's a little scary. It's scary, but it's not as it's scary, but it's not terrible, right? Netflix is terrible. Paramount is scary. I'd rather a legacy studio consume a legacy studio than a streaming service consume a legacy studio. Fuck, the year is almost over, The year is almost over. And we are we're getting closer to the end, is what I'll say. So let me see what else we got here.
Netflix facing a setback as
God
it's hit
damn.
with a class action antitrust law.
That's crazy. Stocks in Paramount and Netflix are down while Warner Bros is up. That's crazy. This is the sad part. You know, I didn't invest in any of these studios.
I don't even believe that this would be either a monopoly or a duopoly, because if you take a look at all of this streaming competition out there, you have Apple, you have Amazon Prime, you have YouTube. All of this hand-wringing over anti-competitiveness, I think, is misplaced. But everybody's trying to treat this deal like a punching bag, and they're coming at Netflix hard and strong.
Well,
This is anti-competitive because YouTube is not a competitor for movies and shows. No one is going to YouTube for the latest YouTube original. What the fuck are you talking about? No one. I would love to see the data on the amount of people that buy movies and shows on YouTube, not just YouTube originals, but just the stuff that they have on there. No one. YouTube is not a streaming competitor. It is a content creation space for videos to be uploaded to. It is a variety of things. It is not a place people go to watch movies and shows, unfortunately, right? Hulu is absorbed by Disney now. So Hulu is also not a competitor. Disney is, but Hulu is not. The reality is YouTube, Hulu, and Disney are very different things. Paramount absorbing Warner Brothers is a huge deal, or Netflix absorbing Paramount Warner Brothers is a huge deal, because it's Netflix isn't competing with YouTube for viewership. You know, it may be competing with it for engagement, but their goal isn't to Netflix's goal isn't to have a place for people to upload videos. Its goal is to have people to come and watch movies and shows, to be the thing that people choose to pick when they want to watch something. It's a different level. I don't know if he's missing the point of what it is a monopoly if either one of these companies purchases this thing, because it does put Netflix one step closer to being a competitor against YouTube, because once it acquires a legacy studio and those subscribers and all that money, it could probably find a way to be a competitor against YouTube's ability to make content. So far, I don't see a world where anyone beats YouTube, but you never know. You never know. This dude is goofy.
Well, the president made the comment the other day that it looks like it's going to be, you know, a big dominant force within streaming if it's Netflix and Warner Brothers.
Well, you are right that the regulatory review of this process is going to drag this out for a good year or so, even aside from the Paramount competitive bid. And the question that regulators are going to be looking at is, first of all, what is the market that's being dominated? That is probably high premium and content video streaming. But I still think at the end of the day that the Justice Department and other regulators would not be well placed to conclude that this would either be a monopoly or duopoly, especially in a situation like this where you have healthy competition in the marketplace. I believe that California judges and D.C. bureaucrats need to get out of the way, let Netflix and Paramount just battle it out, let good old-fashioned market dynamics and forces come in, and at the end of the day, you're still going to have premium service. There will be price competition, but all roads in this space ultimately lead to consolidation in the industry.
Yeah,
He's not missing. He's actually missing the entire point, though. The competition for this bid is about how people are going to go about watching movies. It's not about how much money is going to be made or the cost of a subscription. Like, people are already tired of paying their subscriptions for shit. That's already going to be a thing. I doubt you're going to make, HBO Max $2 a month because you have enough subscribers to hit that. You're going to make it more expensive if you need to. At best, I think you could take away. No, you wouldn't take away ads, because shorter theater runs would mean you would need to make up that money somewhere. So to me, that's a lie. And here they have the Disney, Netflix, Roku, all this good shit. This is the reality of it, right? Where Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, Amazon, etc. These are the big boys who own most of the movie making industry. Amazon is barely in the streaming service. Apple does not make as much money as Netflix does when it comes to streaming services. These are all things that he's pretending like doesn't exist, when it's like, hey, how many shows on Apple TV do you watch typically, as opposed to Netflix? How many can you name off top? How many can you name that literally anybody would probably know off the street? And that says a lot in terms of value. Netflix is just trying to get the numbers, because once they absorb that money from the subscriptions, it doesn't matter the studio quality that they're going to make. They have enough money to push out more Netflix slop across these platforms, and people are going to pay for it because they're not necessarily paying for that one-off stupid Netflix show. They're paying for Game of Thrones that they want to watch. So they'll pay $15 a month because they're not watching that other show. And it makes Netflix look better than what it actually is to the consumer, which is not. It's not that great. It's not on the same level, and it's not a storytelling streaming service. It is a binging service. Warner Bros is a place where you watch movies that you sit down and watch and enjoy and are entertained by. Ted Sarandos, I think it's crazy they say all this as we see the Netflix stocks and these things drop. People are putting their money into Warner Bros, not because of this merger, but I imagine because they don't want Warner Bros to like be gone and at the hands of Paramount and or Netflix. I don't know a better alternative. I mentioned Tubi. I was like, I'd rather Tubi take this shit. Imagine Tubi takes Warner Bros, bro. Tubi, they need a win. They need a damn win. Peacock, literally anybody else, but that's crazy.
I mean, Kevin, you believe that whether it's Warner Brothers and Netflix or Warner Brothers and Paramount, you're still talking about a dominant company.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're talking about a dominant
no matter
company,
how you
so
slice
I think there
that.
should be concerns either way, whoever acquires, from the government. But I think the bigger question for you, Seth, is when are the Warner Brothers shareholders going to file suit? Because they've got a higher offer. It's an all-cash bid. So is that the next key event in this transaction?
Jesus.
You also have President Trump's relationships here. I mean, he said the other day, I'm going to, be involved here. And given Trump's personal involvement and friendship with the owners of Paramount,
Facts.
I'm wondering if he's going to ask for some concessions as a way to allow Netflix to move forward. For example, would you expect something like pricing and programming commitments that the president wants to see here in order to allow that to go? That could also, by the way, deter the European Commission and the state AG's lawsuits. Warner perhaps selling CNN to a conservative buyer. I mean, are these things that you think will come up as a potential pathway to get Netflix to move forward?
100%. I think, that's really the face of the two devils here, where if Paramount buys Warner Bros, right, we already know that Trump had, and he says like he doesn't, but it's like, bro, they literally paid you off with $16 million on a lawsuit. Like, what are you talking about? Paramount will do anything to satisfy you, or any president for that matter, I'd imagine. So if they acquire Warner Bros, and if you can help in deciding who gets this, as you do because of the legalities of it all, Paramount's going to win, because you could offer them, or you could ask them and incentivize things in order to ensure that they secure this bid. And if they secure this bid, I think we're going to see more things in the same framework of PBS being canceled. You know what I mean? Like, things are just going to change, and it's going to be more ways people are trying to cover up censorship within the media and showing what they think is important. It's not fair, because like I said, Warner Bros and all that, they don't just own HBO, right? It's not just the streaming platforms. And that's how consumers are looking at it. But it's cable television, it's public access networks, it's things that is showing what's going on, that you could censor, you could alter, you could show less of. And even in the framework of the type of movies, there are some movies that are based on factual things, or that try to showcase what's happening in the world. And you can censor or silence or prevent those movies from being made, just because of how you think they may come across. And Paramount being being more on the side of Saudi Arabia and all these things, like, there are levels to this stuff that most people don't think about, because most people aren't thinking about the things that are happening in the Middle East and the US, the relationships that are being formed there. Most people are not thinking about how HBO benefits or doesn't benefit from this deal, how Paramount does or doesn't have their hands, or Trump has his hands in Paramount's pockets, like, because they Skydance, you know what I mean? Like, there are levels to it. And to me, it looks more so like what's going to happen is what we're seeing here. The Warner Bros, their stocks are going to go up, right? They're going to make a lot of money. This is going to push competitors to try and buy Warner Bros, because it's becoming more valuable now. And this could all be a game between these people. They could have had Netflix dude hop in with a bid just to make people want to invest in Warner Bros, because they don't want to see Warner Bros shut down or lose profit or whatever. So it makes Warner Bros even more of a commodity in this sense. And it's fucked, because Warner Bros has all the decisions in their hand outside of money, I think they pretty much have the decision to be like, oh, we're going to do this, or we're going to go this way or that way, or a different way altogether. Again, I hope Tubi comes out of nowhere and it's just like, yo, we got 200 billion. You know, we've been stacking since day one. There's like, I hope but you know, stuff like that doesn't happen. Gotham doesn't exist. So we just have to kind of take a back seat. I wish if we all had money, we could all invest in these things, but we kind of just have to watch and hope, which is pretty much the reality, I guess, of TV, right? You just watch and hope.
Concessions, you're right. One of the concessions that I've also heard, in addition to the ones that you've noted, is a representation that they're not going to backstab theaters, because theaters are very worried that they're going to have these releases and then literally overnight it's just going to be yanked from theaters and just thrown on streaming. So I do think that you will have some of those concessions at play. But the other thing that you mentioned that I just find so fascinating about this drama is that you have his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, coming in as part of the consortium at Paramount. And some of those financiers on that end include Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Now, this could be debated, but I'm a little bit concerned about the idea of having these governments from the Middle East coming in and having an equity interest in streaming that's happening here in the United States.
Now, I literally just said this, bro. I don't pay enough attention to the fucking news. I'm not even going to lie to you on that. I don't. I look at what I think is interesting, but it is an actual concern if the Middle East has a control over these level things, right? And I'm like, most people are not thinking about it this way because they don't think about the Middle East like that. But it's like, yeah, imagine a world where Harry Potter is censored. You know what I mean?
I
like,
understand that the president
be a weird ass movie
points, and he's looking at it closely, but that just shows how many people are coming in to really hit at this punching bag. And we'll have a lot of dynamic elements coming out of this, both from the court in California as well as here in Washington.
That's a very good point on the foreign ownership there. Seth, thanks very much. We so appreciate it. We'll be watching how this plays out and have you back soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir. I think that was as news like that we can really get on this podcast, to be honest with you. We don't dive into the news this much, but when it's movies, we got to stop everything, you know? That shit is ridiculous. It's very scary. And it just makes me want to be in the movie business less, just because I'm like, I don't want to work in that dynamic. American films also being owned by foreign countries is you know, it'll be the end of movies as we see it, to be honest. It will be a very different world, and everybody will wonder what happened. And I'm like, well, you know, there's a reason Finding Nemo is a great movie, and we'll get to Finding Nemo later. Finding Nemo was a better kids movie than most of the kids movies out these days, and that's what's crazy. Like, you could see it, but anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to Finding Nemo. I don't want to get lost in the sauce with fucking Finding Nemo. We're not going to talk about Diddy today. If we're not going to talk about Diddy, we can talk about the Game Awards, I guess, really quick as I can make it. I don't have a lot when it comes to that, the Game Awards. I watched it and we voted. I didn't post the vote because I didn't really like a lot of the options. What are the takeaways of the Gamer Awards? Basically, we needed more variety. Expedition 33 won, pretty much swept the Gamer Awards. And the final reveal that happens every year at the Game Awards of the big game that everybody is anticipating, or this big reveal of the next upcoming game that's supposed to get everybody super hype, it was kind of a flop, and it wasn't that exciting. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, because yeah, I agree. It was not that interesting. And I think that's scary, because there's so many other games coming out next year that they chose this one when it was more of a game that probably should have just been shown in between everything, instead of being like the final, this is a huge, big reveal game that's been being worked on for the past 30 years. You know, like, they hyped it up and it's like, oh, well, it's just another hero shooter game. You know, it's not, I wouldn't say this should be the final slot. You know, I would have taken anything, but this game got announced, called Highgard, created by the same people behind Apex Legends and Titanfall. So Jeff Keighley presents his game and he sets it up that way. Now, anybody in the gaming community understands that the people behind Titanfall. One of the biggest things is the hope for a Titanfall 3. Now, this has been true for like a few years now, maybe even a decade at this point. Gamers have been wanting a Titanfall 3 because they really liked Titanfall 2 and Titanfall 1. The problem is the studio didn't really make enough money. So the sentiment is there will never be a Titanfall 3, but gamers have hope. So for every year that the Game Awards comes out, people hope and hold their breath that that Titanfall 3 will be announced. It's never going to happen, but you know, it's a great thing to hope for. And so Jeff Keighley hypes this up, saying like this game is there's this game coming out presented by the people behind Apex Legends and Titanfall. Now people watching the Game Awards are mentally thinking, oh shit, is this going to be Titanfall 3? Are they actually revealing Titanfall 3 or something like Titanfall 3? I feel like it doesn't make sense of the importance of this, because I was talking to my dad about this type of stuff where it's like the gaming industry itself has just been in a weird place for the past decade or so. He's not a super huge gamer, but he's been getting into games again because he has some time. And so we were talking about games that are out lately, since Xbox is basically dead in the water. He's on PlayStation now. And since I've been on PlayStation, I've been kind of giving him a laydown of like what games are interesting, what games are good, etc. Now, since the industry itself has been weird, one of the most important things is understanding it's not so much about like whether you want to just enjoy this game, which kind of sucks because that's not the basis anymore. The studio itself has to have some level of trust that it's going to be a good game. And we got into a long conversation about that because I'm like, yeah, if a game is $60, that doesn't mean it's going to be good. It might actually still be ass. It might be broken, whatever. If a game is on sale for $10 when it used to be $70, that means that game is ass. No one bought it. It completely flopped. Understanding the dynamic of how games are sold these days is like, it's no longer about like just the fun of the game, because that's not the developer's mindset anymore. It's very rare to find a game made by a studio or developers that it's very rare. And those games usually do really well. Expedition 33 is one of those games, which is why it swept, which is why it won. But more often than not, Call of Duty comes out or whatever, where it's just kind of the same thing. And it's not necessarily about creating a unique experience, but it's more so about giving the players what they come to expect from a game, which takes out a lot of the passion and breaking boundaries, ceilings, whatever. Going all the way back to this game, this big ass game announcement. The expectation is like, it's not even about if this game is going to be fun. Is it going to even look like it's worth me spending whatever amount of money on it? That's pretty much in every gamer's mind now, because games are $60 up, new games, $60+ if they're new. Too often, new games come out unfinished. New games come out with issues. New games come out and they don't live up to the quality that they should be. You have to kind of be critical about it. But I think it's more of an unconscious critical eye, because if you've been playing games for these past decades or so, then you're a part of this culture and you recognize it and you understand it now. So it's like, it's much easier to kind of identify those moments where it's like, oh shit, there goes that game that flopped. That shit's $5 now. That's crazy. Came out 2 days ago. You know, like you realize, you recognize these things. But Highgard, this game that's coming out that was hyped up, it doesn't look like anything that we haven't seen before. I feel bad for Jeff Keighley because he had to announce this.
Come and went, and with it, a slew of new games were shown off during the show, from Total War 40K to a new game from the Ascent developer.
Like, bro, there were so many interesting games that popped up at the Game Awards. I completely forgot everything. But yeah, there was a Warhammer announcement, a Star Wars announcement, the Diablo cinematic looked amazing. Any of those 3 games should have probably been in this slot, and it would have probably had a better reception than this one.
Called No Law. This is the first time in a
there
long
was so I'm now my brain is actually remembering. There was actually so many good games that were announced, like so many interesting games that were like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. Like, why was Highgard here?
Jeff had a banger of a game to start the show with Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. But
right.
What everybody is talking about today is how Jeff ended the show, where usually we're greeted with a spectacle. Last year was Intergalactic, and in years previous...
Oh, well, I guess if last year was Intergalactic, yeah, I mean, shit. I mean, we didn't start off great then.
We get shown games that are usually hyped across the internet. Elder Scrolls 6, everybody expected Half-Life 3. Like, the end of the show is always the stamp at the end of a night to show something that everybody is
My
usually
man got some beats on this video for some reason.
looking forward to. This year, a little bit different. And now, if you're listening to what Jeff Keighley said leading up to the reveal, you would think that we're about to get our dicks blown off.
Facts.
Sometimes our last reveal at the Game Awards is a
Bruh,
teaser.
this was literally me. Just literally me watching the game. Like, okay, Jeff, show me what the fuck we're gonna watch. Tell me what slop this is, because we know, right? And then you start like when you listen to his announcement, right? You start thinking like, holy shit, is this really? Are we really about to get Titanfall 3 before GTA 6? Like, is this real? Because it's genuinely one of those things where it's like, this will probably never happen. But if it does, wow. Talk about paradise, right? So going from that level of anticipation to only get fed something like Highgard is literally like the equivalent of like, oh, I'm gonna give you $1 million. Hands you the $1 million. It's all handwritten little paper, not real money. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you understood this wasn't, we're never doing that. We already made that clear. This is something else. It's not the real $1 million, but you know,
years and years away.
True.
Spend it wisely.
Not tonight.
Okay.
Our final world premiere comes from 61 members of the team that built Apex Legends and Titanfall. 4 years ago, the principals founded a new independent studio with the hopes of pushing the shooter genre forward with a new original game.
A shooter?
They've done it.
See, so setting it up like that lets people feel like something big is coming. Way bigger than what we get.
The game is very deep into development.
A shooter? Pushing the shooter genre forward, being made by former Titanfall devs? Holy shit. And we're greeted with this.
Welcome to Highgard.
And right here is when I realized that this game was fucked.
Yep.
As soon as I saw Buddy's haircut, I knew what we were looking at.
Yep. Now, I've heard this game be compared to Conquered, and I have not actually looked at any of the flop that was Conquered. But it was really pretty much this first frame here when we were like, oh, okay, it's not going to be anything cool. You know, and no shade to the developers behind this. I think that's what's really important. I don't think anybody is saying like these developers are ass or like they're terrible people or that we hate them or anything. It's just, it's like it's a thing where it's like, man, you all know what we want. Why are you doing everything but? We're telling you we want this game. We want this experience. Why are you giving us the generic? We already have this. You have this and then some. What were you doing for 4 years? Why were you doing this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm hanging on bated breath that one day, even if I'm 60, one day, I'll get another Infamous game. One day. I know it'll never happen. I know Sucker Punch wants to make other things for now. One day. I knew one day a Dead Space remake will be made, and here we are. They did it. They're not going to make a second remake or anything like that, as far as I understand. But I'm like, I'm satisfied because you made the remake. You know, we all have hopes and dreams when it comes to the games. Highgard is not one of them. Highgard is not on anyone's bingo card. This shit is silly. This man jumped off a building. Oh my God.
And ride without rest. Coin or for cause, I fight to the end.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? And I even hate to make this comparison because this game was honestly one of the most interestingly fun games to play that I don't think we'll ever see again. Paragon. This game, Paragon, was actually really cool. It was like a first person or third person, I don't know, third person version of like League. And it was really unique. It was really fun, but the studio got shut down and the game went shut down and all this. And they closed everything. So you can never play Paragon again. But for a brief moment, Paragon was the beacon in the sky of such a unique and fun game for people who probably are not typically into that type of game to get into that type of game. And so this is reminding me of that in terms of concept where it's a PvE maybe. Seems like it's PvE, if not PvP, but you have these little soldiers that you can kill for XP or whatever while you try and make it to the enemy's base. You get to the enemy's base, you break their force fields, you break all these things, and you try and destroy their base, right? To me, I'm assuming that's kind of the concept of this game, which again has been done and done over. It's not that interesting, you know. People, we already have Smite, we already have League, you already have so many games that do this and do it better and have been doing it for years. There's no reason to make this. So that's what I feel.
Bringing the heat.
And it says this new kind of shooter. This just what is this doing that literally no other hero shooter hasn't done? He has he has powers. Oh no, I've never seen that before. Yeah, I have. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have. We have. We got Valorant, Overwatch, Rivals. We got enough. We got enough. Holy shit.
Your light belongs to me.
Moving in for the attack.
This is why I laugh when people say the game we made was generic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, it just seems like it's using assets of different, mainly from Apex, but like other games too, like just low key, you know. And I'm saying I don't even make games. I'm like, it seems like, bro, I'm gonna use the word asset here because it seems like you're using a lot of ones from other games. Can't pinpoint, but I feel like I've seen these things before, you know. None of this seems like 4 years or like in secrecy level work of development, when it's like you didn't need to work in secret on this, bro. You didn't.
Holy fucking shit, man.
And then a tank out of nowhere. Like, why? Like, what is going on here? What is going on? You know they play World of Tanks, right? Put a tank in there. Like, bro, what? What is going on?
Bro, the absolute state of FPS, dude.
Eagle?
Is it a MOBA?
I am the coming storm.
Oh no, man.
No. You got ults. Jeez. It's a good time to be a gamer.
I am a warden, and this is my.
I'm not gonna lie, the haircut automatically set. I was like, yeah, no, it's over. I can tell instantly, dude. Another generic magenta carbon copy slop Concord Realm Royale
I gotta look at what Concord looks like, because he also just compared it to Concord. I didn't see any videos or like anything of it. That game literally came and went so fast. Literally, I feel like no one got to see
hero
it.
Shooter blended into one incredibly disliked game across the internet.
Crazy. And I think that's it. Check out Big Fried TV's full video. Seems like cool. I'm gonna hit that button. But you know, that's pretty much the sentiment of Highgard. So it comes out January 26th. And I do think people are gonna play it to see what it is, to see and get a feel of because I think there's levels to hating games. I think hating games that aren't out yet. There are some games you can just tell absolutely it's gonna be a complete flop. There are some games where it's like, why did you do this? And then there are games like Highgard where it's like, this game looks like it's gonna be ass, you know. And when it launches, we're all going to play it just so that way we can see its ass. And that is generic, and it won't be played again within a week. They'll be crazy if they try to charge for this, you know. I think with games like this, you could play a lot of games. You could do a lot. You could pull up a bingo card and count how many generic things from every other shooter it has, you know. Or it will probably be easier to make one of ideas that you could implement into a first-person shooter in 2025 that this game is missing. So it sucks because we have to wait until games like GTA 6 comes out for us to see what the competitive, if you want to talk about competitive markets, there's been a lot of talk that GTA 6 is going to do things for games that aren't going to be able to be done for like 10 years. And I'm like, I want to see what that is. I do want to, it's not that I just want to enjoy GTA 6. I do want to see what a studio does with something as massive as that. I do want to see the nuances, the genuine nuances to the experience. And it seems like this is the only game that we're going to get that does that. This is the only game that's going to do that. Well, there'll probably be other ones in the coming year. We'll have to see. But we can say without certain GTA 6 will be the game of 2026, right? And I think when it comes to next year's Gamer Awards, they can't be nominated for anything. They can't be, because it'll win every category it's in. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Gamer Awards came out in December. And I think that's part of why, maybe that's part of why they pushed the date back too, is so that way it can't be nominated because it's outside the nomination window. But it will make sense because GTA is always going to win every category it's in. And it just makes it unfair for the rest of the games because then people should, we all know GTA is going to be amazing. What else is great? Let's see, what were we? Wow, we are, this is a gaming episode. I think we might, we'll stop there. It's been entertainment. This is an entertainment episode, right? We just talked about film and games strictly. I don't even know. Yeah. We'll keep it like that. The next episode, maybe we'll talk about Finding Nemo. I don't know. I had two other things, but it will take much longer to do. And I don't want to do them this episode. We'll do them another episode. So until next time, we will sit, we will pray, we will eat, we will game, we will watch, we will divulge. And we'll do it all here on the Young Talk podcast. I am Father B. Have a good night. Have a good day. I will see you in the next episode. Can I play us out? I will play us. I will play us the fuck out. Have a good one. Peace.
You want to live in Taiwan?